Oh, I'm Gail Sigurdson. I am the Lifelong Recreation Programmer for Lawrence Parks and Recreation, and this is our spring travel show for 2023. I'm going to start out by sharing my screen and introducing some of the basic information, what I like to call introductions and asterisks. For those of you who are new to our program or who maybe haven't been with us for a while, we offer 3 types of trips. The first are day trips, and they generally leave between 8 and 9 in the morning and return between 4 and 6 in the afternoon. The destinations are 1 to 2 hours away, sometimes as far as 3 hours. And if that's the case, we have a stop along the route where we get out and see something interesting that's on the way. We also offer field trips, which are destinations within Douglas County. They usually have either a historic theme, a natural history topic, or they're a behind-the-scenes look at a part of our community that we don't always have access to. Then we also offer extended travel, and by extended, I mean overnights are involved, anywhere from 1 to multiples. We offer those ourselves and through our partners, including this year, Sunrise Tours has joined us, and we continue to work with Colette Tours. Registration for all of these trips opened on Thursday, January 26th. And there are 3 ways to register. The first is in person at any of the recreation centers. You can just walk in, and if you know the name of the tour or you have the code for it, that's most efficient, but they can always help you find it. You can also register online at lprd.org and search for the name of the trip or the registration code. And then finally, you can register by mail. If you have picked up one of the registration forms at a rec center or received one by email, they can then be mailed to Lifelong Travel at 115 West 11th Street in Lawrence, Kansas, 66044. Talking about registration leads right into wait lists. Wait lists are a good thing. All of the trips have a maximum number of people that can join us, but people's plans change. So if you are really interested in joining a trip, don't hesitate to put your name on the wait list. There's no cost, there's no obligation to the wait list, but if something opens up, you'll be the first one we call and offer that seat to. Another thing that has happened in the past is if we have so many people on the wait list, we'll contact all of our destinations and try to offer the trip a second time. That has worked for us many times, so don't hesitate. The travel letter is something you'll receive about 10 days before we depart. That's important because the information you're going to get today is general. We'll be leaving in the morning, we'll get back in the afternoon, and that is because details depend on the size of the group and what we know when it's closer to the time. So you receive the travel letter. It will have exactly where to meet, when to meet, what's for lunch, any special considerations like time outdoors, dress that we recommend, for comfort or for outdoor walking. So the travel letter comes out, as I said, 10 days before. We really prefer to do those by email now. It seems more efficient. You get them more quickly. And when you register, please, if you have a current email, put that on the registration form. If not, we will send them out by mail, and you hopefully will still get them a week ahead of departure. Oftentimes people ask about group size. Why is this limited? That can be 2 things. It can be the transportation that's available. It can also be the destination has their own limitations. The place we're visiting may be small, the exhibits may be tightly packed, or they only have so many docents, and we don't want to have 50 people trying to listen to one person. So group size varies with the destination. By special needs, I mean, please help us prepare to serve you and make your trip experience a positive one. If you need assistance with ambulation, you prefer using a ramp to stairs, or if you would prefer using the lift on the bus to going up the front steps, they can be steep. So let us know that. Let us know if you're a vegetarian or have other dietary needs. Let us know if it's your birthday. Maybe we'll sing to you on the bus. Please do let us know so we can plan ahead and make sure your experience is good. Finally, the asterisk is that changes, deadlines, cancellations, things happen. We will cancel a trip if there's not enough interest in it. And if one of our destinations changes, sometimes restaurants go out of business between the time that we make the plans and the time that we arrive. We'll always do our best to offer something that's very similar to the original schedule, and we'll let you know of those changes as soon as we know in the travel letter or en route, if that's what happens. So, well, let's get to what you really want to hear about, and that's the trips that we're planning for this year. The first one is called Courage, Culture, and History, and we're looking at Black history in Mid-America on Wednesday, February 15th. It's probably not a surprise. We'll start out in the historic 18th and Vine District, and our destination is the Black Archives of Mid-America. This destination will give us the broad picture and kind of the umbrella view of the social, economic, political, cultural history of people of African-American descent here in the central United States. Following that tour, we're going to head to Leavenworth and go to the Richard Allen Cultural Center and Museum, where they have artifacts from the Buffalo Soldiers, from the Underground Railroad, all the way up to today. They have some memorabilia from General Colin Powell. Our guide will be the gentleman who's helped create this collection, and that will be followed by a Buffalo Soldier reenactment program from one of the members of the Alexander Madison chapter of the Kansas City Buffalo Soldiers. So this trip is $86, and that fee includes transportation, tours, and lunch. And that's February 15th. I will say we're hoping everybody can sign up quickly for that. The deadline is February 7th, and it's a quick turnaround. So we want to know if you're joining us for Courage, Culture, and History. The next stop is CONDO-MONIUM at the new theater. So generally, when we go to the new theater, it's for a play that I've heard about because it's received Tony Awards. It's got really a great reputation. What's different about this production is it's the first production of this play in America. And it's been a big hit in England. It gives me a perspective on just how important the new theater is in the broader theater circuit. I enjoy going because the plays are always good and the food is always wonderful. But when we went to Come Blow Your Horn with Hal Linden, he talked a little bit about how well reputed the new theater is in the theater world, not only because they have continued to offer good quality productions, but because the audiences are so receptive and the house is always full. And he said during the past few years, that has meant a lot to the community in theater. So we are going to CONDO-MONIUM. It's a comedy, obviously, at the new theater on Wednesday, March 1st. Curious collections. I got to use a phrase that I heard on NPR when planning this trip, and that is that perpetuity can be persnickety. And what I mean by that is most museums and collections start with one person's passion, and they have an interest or an experience that they want to share, and they are able to draw other people into that and broaden the access to that passion by opening a museum. But things change, and sometimes support changes, interest changes, or COVID happens, and they can't survive that long period. So what we're doing today is looking at three more unique collections. The first one is the Clendening History of Medicine Museum, and that's home to a collection of rare books, artifacts that illustrate history, science, and archaeology with an emphasis on medicine. But this is a museum that is no longer open for drop-in from the public. You have to have a reservation, and we will have that. If you have any special interest in a topic that you think they will cover, please let me know. They said they will go through the archives and try to address that during our tour. Then we're going to the Steamboat Arabia Museum. And this is a museum that we've visited before, but again, with that perpetuity being persnickety, they are actively looking to relocate. The museum focuses on the Arabia, which was a steamship that was buried in a field in Missouri and excavated. It's a fascinating collection because it was like a Walmart heading west, and It has the largest single collection of pre-Civil War artifacts anywhere in the world, and they are well preserved because of how the silt filled and eliminated oxygen, and you'll learn all about that when we get there. But when we think about sunken ships, we think about the ocean, and there are hundreds of them in the Midwest. So the group behind this museum is looking to expand and talk about all steamships and look at many of them that have been restored and rescued. So they are looking to relocate, and this may be one of our last chances to see it right here in Kansas City. Then our last stop that day is at the Historic Garment District Museum. This is another museum that's not open to the public generally. You have to have an appointment. And I became aware of it when all the interest in Nellie Don occurred a few years ago, and made me aware of just how important Kansas City was in the garment industry in the mid-century of the 20th century. So that will be a self-guided tour, but they're letting us in just for that day. Our lunch that day is going to be at the farmhouse, which I've heard great things about. Their menu is all locally sourced foods from farms in Kansas and Missouri, some of which we'll be driving past on these other tours. So that day is Wednesday, March 22nd. The fee is $86, includes the transportation, the tours, and lunch. I feel like I don't have to say anything else, but baby goats, baby goats. We're going to go visit Providence Hill Farm, which is a goat farm, mostly miniature goats. They offer a lot of classes and services. They do yoga with goats, which I've seen yoga with cats and yoga with puppies. I've not seen yoga with goats. We're going to go up, we're going to get a tour and learn about the whole operation. And that is going to include 2 of the classes that they offer. There'll be shortened versions of extended training that they do. We're going to make our own mozzarella cheese from goat milk. And they say that that is something that is easily learned, and you'll be able to do it at home once you've learned how. We will also learn how to make our own artisan soaps with goat milk. You'll get to take home whatever you make that day, and we will end with a hike with goats through the farm and the local woods that you can set the pace at, so don't be overwhelmed by that. The whole day includes transportation or charcuterie lunch at the farm and the 2 workshops for $120. Excuse me. A minute. Okay, Flora, Fauna, and Fun on Wednesday, April 26th. I'm going to start out by saying the afternoon of this tour is one of the places that I go to myself so many times. It's the Overland Park Arboretum and Botanical Gardens. You can go there, have a lovely day, and go back a month later and feel like it's a completely different place. There are 300 acres of gardens, some of them with themes. My personal favorite is the Monet Garden. Just the colors are inspiring in it. But our day starts at the Cedar Cove Conservation Center. It started out as a wildcat sanctuary, but now it's broadened its scope to talk about endangered species and the ecosystems that support them. It's an impressive place because it is inspired by a volunteer, created by a volunteer, run by volunteers. They don't have government support, and they've been in place for over 20 years now. So they're doing good work, and it's a place that we don't always hear about, and it's nice to know when good work is happening. We'll have lunch in Lewisburg. We'll swing by the cider mill because I've learned you can't just drive by the cider mill. We'll just stop for a little bit if you need to stock up on anything. And then we'll spend that afternoon at the Arboretum and Botanical Gardens. We'll have a guided tour to start with, and that tour will have 2 options. There'll be a walking option and a golf cart option for people who are concerned about being able to walk the whole time. There's a limited number of seats for the golf carts, but let us know on your registration if that is your preference, and we'll do our best to get everyone's needs met. So that day will include donations to the cause at the Cedar Cove Conservation Center with a guided tour, lunch, and another guided tour for $120. The Arts in Salina is recognition that things are going on out west that are really exciting. Last spring, we took a trip to Lewisburg and Lindsborg, and one of the people on the trip said, hey, we should drive by and see this mural. And by this mural, he meant the one on the large grain elevator here. You see that beautiful face of a child playing Ring Around the Rosie. It was phenomenal. And it made me look up what else the local Arts and Humanities Council is doing. They have mural projects that are bringing in artists from all over the country and from all over the world. The gentleman who did the Ring Around the Rosie was from Australia. So we're going to take off and head west that morning. We will stop at the Discovery Center in Manhattan. That Flint Hills Discovery Center really focuses on the Flint Hills and the prairie, which is what has inspired so much of the art in the area. So we're going to stop there for a short tour and visit, including their Prairie Garden Terrace will be in full bloom at that time. Then when we get to Salina, after lunch, we're going to have a tour of the downtown murals that they are designing just for us. The Arts and Humanities Council is putting together something that will be walking around. That's a 90-minute walk, so take note of that. I will have the walking stools available for some. And then after that tour, we're going to stay downtown and go to the Stiefel Theater. This theater is just gorgeous. It was originally opened in 1931, and the restoration was about 20 years ago. But again, that theme of the prairie is reflected in the decor and the carvings and the plaster work. It's just a phenomenal job. So we're going to be looking at all the beauty and arts in Salina. Transportation, tours, and lunch is $86. And now, a reason to have a light breakfast. We're going to go to Kansas City, where we'll look at flavors from Switzerland, Costa Rica, and Eastern Europe. They're all on the plate for this tour. We're starting at Andre's Chocolates for a tour of their production areas. Andre's Chocolates has been in Kansas City for 3 generations now, handcrafting Swiss chocolates. It's really a fascinating tour, and some of their partnerships are really interesting as well. So we'll get a tour, and then they're going to serve us lunch in their Swiss cafe. They have a different featured entree every day. So hopefully I'll know what that is by the time you get your travel letter. After Andre's, I feel like we might need some caffeine to stay alert. So we're going to the Roastery Coffee Company, where they'll give us a tour of their production area, looking at the coffee roasting, the blending, and the brewing techniques for their direct trade coffee. And then at the end of the day, we're going to head to Strawberry Hill Povititsa, which is that wonderful Eastern European buttery layered sweetbread with fruits. It's delicious. We'll get a factory tour there and include free samples. So I do have to mention that you have to be able to easily navigate stairs for this tour. Stairs will be an essential part of the tour at the Andre's plant. That tour, all the admissions, transportation, and lunch will be $86. And then looking at the field trips that we have coming up, this is actually one of my favorites, tree identification in winter. This will be with John Standing, who does our tree tours. And it'll start with a driving tour that focuses on recognizing trees by their crown shapes, the bark, and the persistent fruit that is sometimes there. And then you're going to go to a laboratory setting at the KU Herbarium, where you can take a closer look at the identifying features of local trees, and you'll get a special director's tour of the KU Herbarium. So this is one of those places that you don't get to go to unless you're with somebody. So John's going to get you in, and that is on Saturday, March 4th from 10 to 12:30. Then Bob Dinsdale, local historian, is going to repeat his walking tour of Old West Lawrence, and that is on Saturday, March 18th. Old West Lawrence has been historically significant since the early days of the community. Socially, politically prominent families have always lived there. And what Bob does is he not only tells you the stories of those people, but he also highlights the architectural styles, the different building materials in the neighborhood. That really what makes it unique. If you're new to Lawrence, or you've just always wondered what's so special about Old West Lawrence, this is your chance to find out. And that will be on Saturday, March 18th. Both of those field trips are $24. And then our final field trip for the spring is actually a new partnership with the KU Spencer Museum of Art. It's called Rings of Power. And it's an interesting combination. John Standing will again take us through the historic Marvin Grove, just outside of the Spencer Museum, and look at the history, the biology, the horticulture of the trees in the grove. And then Adina Duke is going to take you into the newly renovated galleries at the Spencer and look at art choices of material, form, and content that draw on trees as a resource or as an inspiration. Space is limited for this, but thanks to the KU Spencer Museum's partnership, it is free. We do require registration though, so sign up as soon as you can. Going to look at 4 extended travel opportunities. The first, Crystal Bridges, will be one that we are doing ourselves. The next is New York City with Sunrise Travel, then Santa Fe this fall with Colette Tours, and Tuscany is a little teaser for next spring, almost a year away. Crystal Bridges. I have gone to Crystal Bridges with groups. I have gone by myself. You cannot say enough about this museum and all that it has to offer. It is a large museum. It's a large collection, and that is in part because the collection isn't just housed indoors. The collection includes the architecture. The collection includes the beautiful foothills in the Ozarks that are surrounding it, that are filled with sculpture and walking trails. So we're going to have an immersion at Crystal Bridges and in Bentonville. If this is your first trip, I really recommend that you sign up for the big picture tour, or even if you just would like to know more about the background of Crystal Bridges. This is a fun tour that gives you background on the 3 basic pillars of the Crystal Bridges experience: art, nature, and architecture. They'll take you through the highlights of the architectural design by Moshe Sadi, meet some of the most iconic paintings, and they'll let you know about the natural environment and the trails. It's a really good introduction for first-time visitors. This is a scheduled tour with a docent, so we do need to know ahead of time if you're interested in going. The other 2 things that you want to think about committing to ahead of time are the special exhibition that will be there called Diego Rivera's America. This is going to look at his whole career with over 170 works, including drawings, paintings, frescoes. That is a separate charge, and it's self-guided, so you don't have to worry as much about timing with that one. And then the third special tour that we will pre-order tickets for is the Bachman-Wilson House, which is an example of Frank Lloyd Wright's Usonian architecture. Those are timed tickets for a self-guided tour, so we just need to know ahead of time if you're interested. We will have about 6 hours at Crystal Bridges, so you'll have time to explore the galleries, explore the outdoors, just sit and rest a little bit if you'd like, and go out to the Bachman-Turner House. There's also a beautiful small arboretum and garden on the trails. The Razorback Trail goes right through the grounds. So you'll have no problem filling 6 hours at Crystal Bridges. That night, we're going to go to dinner on the square at Tavola Trattoria. I think I'm saying that wrong. And we'll have a private dinner there. The second day, we're going to start out at the Museum of Native American History. This is just an award-winning collection. The vastness of it is really impressive, the level of curation, and it's done chronologically from the Paleo period till today. So we will have a self-guided tour there. And they do have electronic aids with that. Then we're going to the Momentary. This is another museum affiliated with Crystal Bridges that focuses on current artists and visual and performing arts. So that will be a self-guided time. And then lunch on your own that day, because we're going to go real nearby to the 8th Street Market. And this is a food hub that nurtures entrepreneurs and has teaching of future chefs as well. They have small restaurants with a variety of different foods, and they have food trucks there. So we'll have lunch on your own, and then we start home with a stop in Fort Scott at the Gordon Parks Museum. Gordon Parks was one of the more influential and just truly Renaissance men of the 20th century. And he was a Kansan, which we have to remember to celebrate our heroes like that. He was a filmmaker, photographer, writer, musician, and we will have a guided tour of his museum in Fort Scott on the way home. That is Thursday and Friday, March 30th and 31st. Our plan is to go in a motor coach, and the limit is 40 people for that. Excuse me. Just a brief look at the other extended tours with our partners. If you are interested in the details for these, please reach out to me. I'll have my contact information at the end of the show, and I can get you more information. With Sunrise Tours, we're going to New York City in August. That's 4 days and 6 meals. And they're staying right outside of Times Square. They're including some tours. You'll go to the Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island. You'll see the 9/11 Museum and the 9/11 Memorial, Broadway show, and some time on your own to do what you want to do. So I've had really great reviews of the Sunrise Tour group, and we share some travelers. There's still spots available for the Spotlight on Santa Fe in September. This is a Colette Tours. It's 6 days with 8 meals. Colette does a nice job of giving you a good overview of the destination. You'll go to the landmark sites. You see where the Indian Market is, where the Untitled Chapel, and they'll also take you for the natural beauty out to the Bandelier National Monument with the canyons and the cliff dwellings. And then they give you time on your own, so you can go back to the things that most interest you. And finally, this is just a teaser because it's a year away, but we're offering a trip to Tuscany in March of 2024. And this is going to be 9 days, and it's really a nice setup because it's going to be a hub and spoke tour, which means we'll stay at the same hotel the whole time and go out in a different direction each day. Visiting Pisa, Florence, and Siena. We get to do a cooking class, visit a cheese farm and local wines, and taste all that wonderful regional cuisine and see some of the wonderful art. For this tour and for the Santa Fe tour, you can see that there is a link that you can go to directly, or again, contact me and I'd be happy to get you the details for either of those. I hope to see you soon. Here is my contact information. Please don't hesitate to call or email me if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing you all. Thank you.